This is the Waterdrop WD-A2 Countertop Reverse Osmosis System. I've had this for a bit now, and a few people ask me about it, so here's my take. This is basically a countertop reverse osmosis filter that also gives you hot water and cold water on demand, without drilling into anything or setting up an under-sink line. If you rent, if you don't want to mess with plumbing, or if you just want something you can move from a kitchen to an office or even an RV, this kind of system makes sense. It's also for anyone who doesn't trust the taste of their tap water, deals with hard water scale, or just wants a consistent cup of water for tea, coffee, or cooking without thinking about it. What made me interested in it wasn't the idea of reverse osmosis by itself. I've used RO before, and it usually means hoses, a separate faucet, and a chunk of space under the sink you don't get back. What's different here is that it's self-contained. You pour tap water into a rear tank, it filters into its internal clean water area, and you dispense from the front. And instead of keeping a big hot tank sitting there all day, it heats water as it dispenses, which changes how it feels in day-to-day use. In person, it looks more like a compact kitchen appliance than a classic water cooler. Mine is matte black, and the finish does a decent job hiding fingerprints. It's not tiny, but it's counter-friendly. It's tall enough that if you have low cabinets, you'll want to think about where it's going, because you need room to lift the back tank straight up and out. When it's empty, it's manageable to move, but once you fill the feed tank, you're not casually shifting it around one-handed. The front touchscreen is the thing I interact with the most, and it's been reliable. The icons are clear, it responds even if my hands are a little wet, and it doesn't feel laggy. The machine has a drip tray that pops off easily for cleaning, and the spout height works for a mug or a taller bottle. With smaller cups, I did get a bit of splashing if I wasn't careful, so I usually bring the cup closer to the spout or dispense a little slower. The layout is simple. There's a big feed tank in the back where you pour your tap water, and there's a smaller portable clean water pitcher in the front. That pitcher is one of the parts I didn't expect to care about, and now I use it constantly. I'll fill it and bring it to my desk, or use it at the stove when I'm cooking rice or pasta, and I want filtered water without walking back and forth with a pot. Setup is mostly easy, but it's not the 2 minutes and you're done kind of easy. You plug it in, seat the filter, fill the tank, and then you have to do the flushing process. That flush takes a while, and in my case it took longer than I expected, because you're cycling water through and waiting on the machine to do its thing. One practical tip from my own mistake: the front pitcher needs to be seated just right during flushing. I thought it was in, but the machine acted like it wasn't ready. I had to remove it and set it back in until it fully caught. Once I figured that out, it moved along normally. Also, during flushing, don't lift the pitcher to check anything. If you interrupt it, you're just adding more time. After the first day, daily use is straightforward. I top off the back tank when it gets low, and I rinse the front pitcher like I would any water container. Because this is RO water, it doesn't have the same residual chlorine you might be used to from tap water. So I personally treat the tanks like something I keep clean on purpose. Not obsessively, but regularly. A quick wash and rinse keeps it from getting that water container smell over time. The temperatures are where this unit becomes an everyday convenience thing. I use the cold setting for drinking water, room temp for cooking or filling a bottle quickly, and the hotter settings for tea. It goes down to about 59 degrees Fahrenheit for cold, and up to 203 degrees Fahrenheit for hot. In real use, the cold is refreshing, but it's not the same as ice water from a fridge with a lot of thermal mass behind it. If you're expecting that kind of icy chill, this isn't that. It's more like cool enough that I actually want to drink it without adding ice. The hot water is genuinely useful, with one small reality check. It can be set up to that 203 degrees Fahrenheit number, but the water you catch at the cup can be a bit lower depending on the room and how long the machine has been sitting. I noticed that if I haven't used hot water in a while, the first bit can lose heat through the internal path. For tea, I usually let a small amount run, then fill my cup. For instant noodles, it works, but I still sometimes give it a minute or use a slightly higher temp setting if I want it as close to boiling as possible. It's still faster than a kettle for my routine, and I don't have a kettle taking up space now. Let me talk about the actual water quality as I experienced it, because that's the point of an RO system. The taste difference was obvious after the initial break-in period. The first couple days I did catch a faint new plastic kind of taste, not strong, but noticeable. It went away after a few full tanks. After that, the water tasted neutral and clean. In my area, The tap water has a noticeable chlorine smell sometimes, and that's what disappeared for me. I also live with hard water, and this is the first time I've gone a week without seeing scale show up in anything I make tea with. That alone changed my routine. I'm not scrubbing mineral rings out of a kettle or noticing that chalky film. One thing you need to be okay with is that countertop RO like this creates drain water. This one runs at a 3:1 pure to drain ratio, which is better than a lot of older RO setups, but you still deal with wastewater. Since this isn't plumbed into a drain, the system manages it internally, and you're basically refilling and dumping more often than you might expect at the beginning, especially if multiple people are using it daily. In a busy week, I found myself doing that refill, empty, repeat rhythm pretty often. It's not hard. It's just part of the reality of this style of machine. Noise is also part of the reality. When it's filtering or cooling, I hear a low hum from the pump and fan. It's not painful, but it's there. In a quiet kitchen at night, you'll notice it. In a normal daytime setting, it blends into background appliance noise. On the smart side, it's mostly about the screen, not a mobile app. I don't use an app with this, and honestly, I didn't feel like I needed one. What I do use is the on-screen feedback. It shows system status, reminds me about filter life, and it makes it easy to repeat the same temperature and volume choices without thinking. There's also a favorite style behavior where I can keep going back to the same settings I use for my mug. That's the kind of smart I actually appreciate. Less fiddling, not more notifications. For a real-world test, I used it in 3 situations that matter to me. The morning tea test is basically, can I get consistent hot water without waiting, and does it taste clean? After the break-in period, yes. The bottle fill test is, can I fill a tall bottle without splashing everywhere, and is the flow rate annoying? It's fine, but I still keep the bottle close to the spout. The cooking test is, does this make a difference in things like rice and coffee machine water? For me it did, mostly because it removed the tap taste and it stopped the mineral buildup issue that affects kettles and coffee gear over time. Now, limitations. You have to stay on top of keeping the tanks clean. You have to accept that cold is cool, not ice cold. You have to accept that hot is very hot, but in the cup, it may not always behave like a rolling boil. You also have to be okay with the fact that this is a countertop appliance with a footprint and a height, so placement matters more than you'd think. If your counter space is already tight, it's going to feel like a commitment. Overall, I found it practical and easy to live with once you're past the initial flush and the little learning curve of how it likes the pitcher to be seated. It replaced a few small habits for me. I don't buy bottled water. I don't use my kettle as much. And I don't deal with scale buildup the way I used to. It's not a set and forget system like a plumbed-in undersink RO because you are refilling a tank. But that's also the reason you can use it without installation. To learn more about the Waterdrop WD-A2 Countertop Reverse Osmosis System, please check the comments section. Thank you for watching.